Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com. I'm in my swimsuit. I'm ready to go poolside, but I wanted to get out the next video in my A to Z series of tarot publishers. Now, this has proven to be a much harder task than I imagined. I thought it would be real clear cut, but it's not. And well, it's not because I have so many decks. You know, it's literally back-breaking work. So I think I'm missing, probably I'm going to be missing several, but I'm giving it a college try. I have found a few other decks published by A names. Remember, the first publishing house in the series was by Inversion Tarot. The next one in the A category is A.G. Mueller, who is a publishing house who did do some printing work for U.S. Game Systems, Inc., but it is also its own house. So I have a few of theirs. Let's start with the one that's not A.G. Mueller. I have a deck called Tarot of Delphi, and it's published by IELO Publishing in Buffalo, New York. I think it's the only one I have by IELO Publishing House. And I'm not sure if the Tarot of Delphi is still in publication. I think it is. Comes in a hard box. Has a real nice booklet. This one was published in 2014, so it's probably still in publication because I don't really, it's only 10 years old, this one, so it's not ancient. Here are the backs. The cardstock, it's okay. It's a large deck. It's impossible for me to ruffle shuffle. So it's definitely an overhand. It's definitely an overhand kind of shuffling. And it's the Tarot of Delphi has original artwork of a number of, I guess, Victorian and Edwardian artists. And the artwork was gathered, it's not in order, and featured for various representations of each of the cards and in the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition. So it's a beautiful deck. It's a pretty deck. And if you are into art decks that show beautiful artwork, it's nice. It's a nice deck. Okay, now getting into A.G.M. Mueller. I have, I think, one deck by them that was two decks, I think, that are exclusively their own publications. One is, and not in association, rather, for another company or U.S. Game Systems, Inc. One is Symbolon, the Deck of Remembrance. This deck reaches the memories of the soul, astrology, personal insights, and symbolism in daily life are revealed through the cards. Constantly changing combinations of cards disclose the whole range of human experience. So I don't know. I bought it because I thought it was a tarot deck, but it's kind of not. So I don't really know how to use it, to be honest. But the box says AGM Urania. Now I have, I think, another deck by AGM Urania. But this was not printed for U.S. Game Systems, Inc. I don't see U.S. Game Systems, Inc. on the box anywhere. Yeah. But, I guess it's kind of, I mean, it seems to have cards that are suggestive of tarot, right? But like most oracle decks, the images evoke emotion I think this deck probably would be good for dream work, maybe. You know, if you disassociate it from tarot, right? Just use it as an oracle deck. The cardstock, did I mention the cardstock on this? It's flexible. It's better than the Tarot of Delphi. Of course, that was done by a different publisher. Can I shuffle this one? Yeah, I think I could shuffle this one. And it's very flexible. It's laminated. But the cards retain their shape. So it's kind of an interesting deck. Another AGM deck is when there was discussion about whether or not the Pamela Coleman Smith Rider-Waite Smith collaboration, when there was conversation that the copyright expired, there were some decks that came out, you know, for the first time, and then A.G. Mueller printed their own version of the Tarot Waite Smith, but they weren't, I don't think they were able to print in English because U.S. Game Systems got into a pissing match with them. And I have since gotten facsimile decks of the 1909 Lilybacks, Roses and Lilybacks, and the Crackleback backs from 1910. I have since purchased facsimile decks of those decks. But at the time when I bought this was this was like the closest thing to a facsimile that I could get that wasn't U.S. Game Systems, because they had so many varieties and none of them were really decent facsimiles, you know. But because they were in a pissing contest and they have the Cracklebacks, so they were basing it on the 1910, I think, unless it was one of the later ones. But because they were in a pissing contest, or U.S. Game Systems Inc. was in a pissing contest with them about the copyrights, they had to do it in German. They had to do it in other languages. This one that I bought, this one that I was able to get my hands on, was in German, but I think there were other languages. And it's nice cardstock. Oh yeah, it's nice. So AGM Mueller. This is AGM Mueller Urania. So it's a nice cardstock. It's nice. I mean, it's a mass-produced cardstock, but it's right. It's nice. And of course, we're familiar with the AGM decks that were technically printed by AGM for U.S. Game Systems Inc. And I probably have more than 2 decks, but I'm just showcasing 2. One is the Rola Nordic Tarot deck. It's, U.S. Game Systems is the one that's being credited, but on the box itself, it says, made in Switzerland by AGM Mueller and CIE and distributed exclusively by U.S. Game Systems Inc. So U.S. Game Systems did not publish this deck, I don't think. It was just distributed. It was published by AGM Mueller for U.S. Game Systems. It was distributed by U.S. Game Systems. Now, this is a petite deck. I don't know. I don't think it's in publication anymore. But it's an example of, I guess it must satisfy U.S. Game Systems criteria. They must have made the decisions on cardstock, etc. It's a petite deck. It shuffles nicely, but they've been in the business for a long time, A.G. Mueller. I think since 1700 something. So, and I don't think I have this in any order. It's black and white. I think at the time you were supposed to. What year is this from? The 80s, maybe the 70s. Let's see. Copyright 1981 by U.S. Game Systems Inc. I think at the time you were supposed to color the cards as like a learning device, but I never did. It's petite, but it's a nice shuffle. It's a nice salmon. They've retained their shape pretty well. And the other one I saved for last, not because it's just my favorite one of the lot, but because you've seen it a million times. And my first tarot deck seems to have been printed in Switzerland by A.G. Mueller CIE and distributed by U.S. Game System. So, and whatever was in this cardstock, now I have a cardstock I think from 1970 is what my booklet says. Unless this is an older deck, but the booklet's from 1970, I don't know. But I'm assuming that the deck and the booklet are the same year. Whatever they did in this, with this formula, was really nice, because these cards are, I mean, I purchased it probably 75 or 76, so it's either 48 or 49 years old. I've had it. It's 70 years old, but it sat on a shelf, you know, for a couple of years before I bought it. But these cards are pristine, and it's not because I didn't use them. I think it's credited in part to the fact that I always wash my hands, and I'm meticulous, and I'm a little nut when it comes to my decks and my tarot parlor, but I think truly it's because there was something magical about the cardstock. It seems like it's coated with something very thin, though it's not objectionable at all, front and back. At any rate, there may be more that I have under the A category, but after a few days' work of going through all my decks, these are the only other A's that I have. Next up will be B, and I'll hopefully be presenting my B publications within the next week or so. It takes time. I have to go through every single cell. You would think that I'd have a spreadsheet. You'd think, but because I don't know how to make a spreadsheet, see, that's how technically disadvantaged I am. I just go through every deck and just see what the publication's name is, so it's kind of tedious. And I don't have a partner in crime. Nobody helps me. I do all this by myself. So those are this is my A, the remainder of my A category, and I'll be doing the B category next. There's a lot of letters between A and Z. Hopefully there'll be some gaps where there's no letters in the publications, because it's a lot of work. I never would have started it if I'd have known. But until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm.